You are listening to From Sobriety to Recovery with Jesse Mogul. Let's get to the show. Welcome back to From Sobriety to Recovery. I am your host, Jesse Mogul. I am in addiction recovery. I totally missed last week's episode. And here we are. It is Wednesday, and my birthday is Saturday. So I am looking forward to shooting another episode that I will put out for my birthday. Maybe I'll make it after my birthday on that Sunday afterwards. I'm not sure, but what I do know is that I've been looking forward to doing this episode, and it actually shifted late last night because I've been talking with some of my clients, and I do addiction recovery coaching for those of you who haven't noticed me talking about that before in the past. And so if you're interested in that after you listen to this episode, maybe you're like, that's not too bad of an idea. Maybe I need some guidance with that. You can go to jessemogul.com/askme and fill out the little coaching form. And then I'll hop on a phone call with you and we'll discuss if my skills can help you with your long-term sobriety and addiction recovery goals. One of the interesting things that my clients continuously bring up is their habits. And I'm not surprised about that because they all listen to the show like you do. And I talk about habits ad nauseum. Where we want to begin to notice our habits are going to be in many places because your habits have been leading you into your addiction. They can lead you out of your addiction. All your habits were geared towards your next fix, your next high, having that money available to go to the bar, go to the drug dealer, whatever it was that you were, hell, if your addiction was shopping, then you were making money to spend money. And if your addiction was gambling, you were making money to gamble. Right? Like all of our habits were leading us towards our next fix. So when you get sober, you want to start looking at your habits and how they were leading you to your addiction and then start shifting those around so you can lead yourself out of the addiction. And there's obviously a lot of variables that are going to come to play here. And so I want to be very mindful that I'm going to discuss with you guys some of my opinions and beliefs around this. And by no means is this concrete. Is this the only way? You know, you've been listening to me for over 290 episodes. You know, I do not believe that my way is the highway, that my way is the only way. But certainly I have a lot of different people that I have helped, hundreds, over the course of these last 7.5 years, where I notice patterns of behavior. That's one of the things I love about my brain. It loves noticing patterns of behavior. It brings them to my conscious mind, and then I can utilize those in my addiction recovery coaching or in this podcast or in my own life, in fact. And so when we start looking at our habits, back to what I was saying before, that this isn't going to necessarily be, you must do it this way, but there's definitely going to be some consistencies we're going to find within the scope of human behavior where this is going to become very meaningful in a lot of different aspects to all of you. And I'm looking forward to how you're going to be able to process what we're getting ready to talk around habits and morning routine and nighttime routines and discovering where you might have some opportunities to resolve some internal issues that you're conflicted about in order to get yourself back on track, aim yourself in a direction that's going to be meaningful to you so that you can achieve the life that you no longer want to escape from. And I've mentioned that many times, that with addiction recovery, we're looking to create a life that we don't want to run away from. And it can be difficult when we first step into sobriety and recovery because of so many reasons. But often we finally have to look around and be like, what the F have I done to my life? Like, this is really the life I created myself? Like, where all I'm doing is chasing my next high. I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. My loved ones don't want to talk to me. Maybe I've been half-assing it at work for a long time, and I could be on the threshold of losing my job. Or perhaps your rock bottom was losing your job, losing your house, losing your spouse, losing your kids. I mean, maybe your life literally was that 1980s country song, and now you're in this position where you have to make a decision on whether you are going to continue with the way that things have been versus are you going to now shift them and make them the way you would prefer them to be. And when I talk about the life that you want it to be, that you would desire to have, what can be really interesting about this is how little thought people will actually put into that. It's like when I ask a client, well, what do you really want? They're like, well, I want more money. I want to lose weight. I want my spouse or partner or my kids to love me more. And that's vague. There's no specificity in there. When you want more money, here's $1. You want them to love you a little bit more, they could say love you before they walk out the door. But is that all you wanted? Wasn't I love you before they walked out the door? Or one more dollar in your pocket? The likelihood that you want more than $1 or more than a simple love ya as they walk out the door is probably pretty factual. And so we want to be very specific. So we really want to sit down and ask ourselves, what is the life that we want to have? What is the one that we've dreamed of? What is the one that we can begin to lay an outline for? As I stumble across my words, I think it's because my brain just wants me to get into the meat of what a morning routine and a nighttime routine can do for you. Because there's a myriad of habit loops that you are creating in your life. And figuring out where you are missing out on opportunities to create that life that you desire for yourself is of the utmost importance. And a lot of attention when we're going to shift our life around and create something out of, for many of us, felt like nothing when we first got into sobriety and recovery. Google this, and you will find tons of different blogs and stories and information on morning routines, from waking up and going to the gym or going running or meditating or yada, 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 right? It's all about, it sets the stage, it creates the beginning, and all this energy for the morning will tone of the day. And by all means, I'm not mocking that, even though my tone may have presented that to you just now, but it's absolutely where so much attention is paid towards the morning routine, about what we do when we first wake up for that first 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. And then when you hear people talk about nighttime routines, it's like, shut your technology off an hour before you go to bed, brush your teeth, wash your face, go to the bathroom, take a shower, call it a day. And so it's all about closing up the day. And the morning routine is about getting yourself started off right. But where I want to start to challenge us is realizing that the morning version of ourselves isn't generally, I'm not going to say always, but generally, not the version of ourselves that wanted to go out and get a fix or get a buzz or go back to using, right? First thing in the morning. Now, mind you, I do remember those benders where I was waking up and drinking tequila as I still laid in my bed. Absolutely. But if you're not, at that bender level anymore, or currently finding yourself in a generally good state of stability, the likelihood that you wake up and the first thing that you want to do is, snort some cocaine, drink some shots, hop on Amazon, go shopping, place a bunch of bets on the sports games that night. Like, morning isn't generally where our addict selves likes to speak the loudest. It's generally at night when we're done with work, we're wrapping up the day. It's like, okay, well, I just went off and got my job done, or I got all my responsibilities done. Well, now what am I going to do with myself? And this is why I continuously discuss with my clients, what is your nighttime routine? And I don't just mean right before you go to bed. I mean, from the moment you think that your responsibilities, that your day is quote unquote done, what are you doing? Because we're consistently listening to ourselves, asking ourselves, what do we need to do next? What do we need to do next? What do we need to do next? And for me, yes, I have an incredible system utilizing prioritizations and focuses, where I make sure I have a list of all the things that need to get done for the day and for the week when it comes around my master's degree, for my sobriety recovery business, for American Contingency, this preparation company that I do all of their blogs and their podcasts for, to the restaurant jobs, to the bartending gig that I've got. Like, I have a lot of streams of income. I have a lot of responsibilities. I have a lot of people counting on me being on time, showing up consistently. That at the end of the night, whenever my girlfriend goes to bed right around 9:30 or 10, those last 2 or 3 hours are really the sweet spot for me when there's nobody else around. All my clients are presumably in sleep and getting their shut-eye or closing up their night with their awesome nighttime routines. And now what am I going to do? That's where I'm working on my schoolwork. That's where I'm coming up with podcast ideas. That's where I'm posting the blogs or putting together all of the content on my jessemogul.com website. That's where I'm preparing my next, ebook, all of this jazz, and I'm getting it done. That's my nighttime routine. When the addict voice could get loud and say, hey, everybody's asleep, you could easily sneak a beer or two. My brain's well beyond that. It's like, are you kidding me? I got these other 3 things I'm super pumped up about. And that's what I want to discuss with you today is what are you doing with your end of the day routine that is going to be able to counteract any of those voices coming from you or your friends. These voices can be internal and external that are seeking to contribute to the prolongingness of your addiction. Because there is that sober voice in you that's like, no, let's find something meaningful to do. Let's, do our steps, do our 4 truths. Hell, let's play a video game and talk to our friends online. Like whatever it might be, our nighttime routine is just as important as our morning routine. And again, I'm noticing the habits within people at the addiction recovery centers, my clients, people I just meet at meetings and things of that nature who will have a very well-structured morning routine that can oftentimes be a little bit long and drawn out if you were to ask my opinion, which you didn't, but I'll definitely give it, versus their nighttime routine, which is non-existent. Because if you're asking yourself to wake up at 6 a.m. and you got to be at work at 9 so that you can meditate for 30 minutes, do 30 minutes of yoga, work out for 45 minutes, eat a healthy breakfast, and let's say you've got kids or a spouse or a partner, and now you've got to add in their needs in the morning of your time, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for something to skip a beat, for something to be missed. And oftentimes our habit loop has got us in such a way where if we're not able to hit every single step, then a part of us won't feel like we've completed our morning routine. And that, oh, well, I didn't get the yoga in, and now I'm a failure, didn't get my morning routine done the correct way, and now you feel shitty about yourself, and you got to go off into the real world, battling this internal feeling of crappiness that you didn't get the thing done that you wanted done. And then that voice is like, well, you already messed that up. You might as well just screw it, get your buddies, and just go have a beer after work. We'll be sober tomorrow. We'll be sober again later on. But, you messed this up, so let's just go ahead and go back to the previous behavior because, fuck it, we didn't get everything done in our morning routine. I've read a lot of books by these uber successful people, the Elon Musks and the Bill Gates and the Steve Jobs of the world, or I've come across excerpts of them as I've been doing my research. And what I notice is that a lot of them do not have a very strictly structured morning routine. They're not waking up and meditating. They're not waking up and necessarily going to the gym every single day. They get up, oftentimes grabbing a cup of coffee, heading straight to the computer and getting right into work. And that's my go-to move. I want to get my body moving. I want to get my brain moving. So I hop on the treadmill underneath my stand-up desk, got the laptop out. Let's look over what I need to do for the day on my P4F list. Let's look at the responsibilities I have with college and all my jobs and streams of income, and let's get to it. It's why I like being a breakfast waiter. Wake up, 5:30 in the morning, I'm opening a restaurant at 6 a.m., or I'm going in at 7 a.m., walk straight in the door, start cutting fruit, check my tables, greet my first one, and just get straight into the flow. And that's what I think a morning routine is really trying to get you into, that state of flow. And when you listen to everybody else tell you about what a morning routine should be, well, you got to meditate, and you got to yoga, and you got to stand on your head and spin around like you're a breakdancer from 1983. That might work for them, and that might be what gets them into flow. But you want to find your way into your flow. And when we think about a nighttime routine, once all of our responsibilities are done, and we really feel like for the day we are settled, now what are we going to do? Are we going to doom scroll social media? Are we going to go in and clean up our email box? Are we going to go look at pictures of other people on Facebook that we think are living better lives than ourselves? I mean, is that really the energy I want to have at 9 o'clock at night? And I am not one of those people who thinks you got to turn off technology an hour before you go to bed. But I keep my phone on that little nighttime yellow screen all day long. All my computers are constantly on that nighttime yellow screen, so I'm not getting that blue light. Haven't for years now. And I fall asleep listening to this guy. He has a show on YouTube called What If Alt Hist. And he talks about all these random scenarios of what could have happened in the history of time had, Spain not done this, or had the Mongols not done that. And I love falling asleep to this guy's voice and him just talking about all this random history stuff, or Wendover Productions. real life lore. Like those are three of my go-to. They show up in my algorithm a lot because I watch them so often. Do I really need to know the logistics of how a suitcase moves around an airport from Wendover Productions? I don't need that. That is not information I readily am all that concerned with. Do I watch it nonetheless? Hell yeah. How does a ship full of oil get from the Middle East to Los Angeles? I mean, I've seen it. I know it. I don't need to know it. That isn't really that important to my day-to-day life. But I enjoy those kind of things, and I fall asleep with my little earbud in. I fall asleep on my right-hand side, or, I'll roll over and still have the earbud in and won't even be looking at the phone, and my eyes are closed, and I'm out. I'm off to sleep. Sleepy, sleepy land. And I generally fall asleep within about 5 or 10 minutes of my head hitting the pillow, presumably because I've got my diet on lockdown. I work out 5 days a week. I've got my body feeling pretty good, and once it's time to shut it down, it's time to shut it down. So I'll run you through what my general nighttime routine is, and I just want you to be thinking about this because most of you will have a morning routine. And listen, seriously, if it's 7 steps long and takes you 2 hours to complete, you're going to want to reel it in a little bit. I mean, unless you're one of those people who consistently gets it done and feels good about it. But if you miss something, does that take you out of flow? Do you feel bad if you're not able to get your 30-minute yoga session in and it can only be 10 minutes? If you wake up late or something, hiccups you because you've checked your email and all of a sudden your boss needs this file ASAP and you're not able to, drink your coffee and watch the birds eat out of the bird feeder and then go do this, that, or the other. Like, if you can't shower every single morning before you go to work, does that F your day up? Well, because we don't want to have a morning routine that is so stringent that if a piece of it's pulled out that the entire house of cards falls. We don't want our morning routine to be a house of cards. We want it to be a buffet where there's options, where there's things that we can do that can set the tone for the day. If I have to go on an airplane flight, my morning routine is going to be very different than one where I just get to walk into my office, hop on the walk-in treadmill, and just start working on the computer. Or if I got to go to the restaurant in the morning, it's going to be a very different morning routine than one where I've got clients that start first thing 9 a.m. I have a buffet of things that I can do in order to get me into flow. And for me, I want my mind and I want my body moving. I want to just get myself immediately going. So the night before, I've already set up the first 2 or 3 tasks that I'll do before I even walk into the office. I know exactly what I'm getting at. Today, this morning, it was meet with a client. It was shoot my podcast for American Contingency. Then it was shoot this one. I got a client showing up at 2 o'clock. After that, I will edit both podcasts. I will get them up. And then I'll turn my attention to websites. Am I going to be writing blogs for American Contingency and posting those up? Or am I going to be going through all of the notes that I have for previous podcasts and starting to build web pages around those? I've also got a school assignment that's due at midnight, and I want to go see Planet of the Apes at 7:30 with my stepson. So I've got these things on the list that will get done. It's just a matter of figuring out the order for which I will get them done. And I know tomorrow's Thursday, and I don't have to leave my house for any reason. So I also realize I've got a whole day there where I could be putting together web pages and blogs and things of that nature. So there are things that aren't as important to get done today as these podcasts need to get posted. Want to go to the movie, committed to that, and I got to get the assignment done by midnight to turn it in on time so I can get a good grade. All the other stuff, those are focuses that can be pushed to the next day. But why I tell you all of this, because I'm seeking a state of flow. I'm seeking a state where the things that I'm doing aren't butting up heads with other things I could be doing. So when you have this morning routine or a nighttime routine, you want it to be a buffet where you're like, okay, this next morning I'm going to get up, do 10 minutes of meditation, because any minutes of meditation are better than no minutes of meditation. And if you have yourself on a 1 hour every single morning meditation streak, congratulations that you're able to pull that off. But for the rest of y'all who don't normally sit there and try to clear your mind for an hour, having some blog or some jerko out there who knows nothing about your life tell you that you need to be doing an hour's worth of meditation is going to be such an encumbrance on your time and your energy that you may not even start at all. Versus throwing on a 5-minute guided meditation off YouTube or Headspace or just listening to a binaural beat on Spotify and just getting yourself into a state where, I'll say Om to myself or I'll daydream, being in a hot air balloon watching pterodactyls fly by me. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to clear my mind. I've had enough meditation gurus tell me that at the beginning stages at least, you're not looking for a clean space. that even people who've been doing it for years are going to have a hard enough time sometimes shutting down the chatter. I had one guru be like, dude, if you just want to go for a walk and just do it in silence and count how many bees or birds or, how many clouds you see in the sky, that can be meditation. You get to decide what meditation is for you. So when you start looking at your morning routine, make sure you're creating this buffet of options based off of what you desire that can work well for you. Caveat, again, because there's always a caveat, right? That's a pretty good use of the word always there. There's always another option, is that we don't want to say no to something because we've never done it before, or the first 1, 5, or 10 times it didn't feel comfortable, or we didn't see a result. You may not see results the first 10 times you go to the gym, but that 27th time, you finally break that plateau and you're able to, bench press your weight, or you're able to look in the mirror and see a noticeable shrinkage in the fatness on your face or your chest. Like, things take consistency. I'm sure as a child, I know for a fact I did not like broccoli or Brussels sprouts, and I do now in my 40s. But I continuously ate broccoli and Brussels sprouts, one, because my parents wouldn't let me get up from the table without doing so. But two, as I got older, I realized that it was actually a good source of calcium, and it was good for my bones, and it was good for my brain and all that jazz. And I may not like every single time I eat broccoli, but I'm still going to do it because I know it's good for me. And honestly, that 30 seconds of eating that, 2 cups of broccoli, it happens so quickly that I can move on to my pork tenderloin after that. So I do want you to be mindful that there are things that are being offered up to you to put on your buffet, and you may not think that you'll like them, and you may have tried them before and been like, yeah, meditation's not for me, yoga's not for me, working out's not for me, going out and getting 10,000 steps, that's not for me. But if you're looking to make radical changes in your life, then you're going to want to do things that you haven't done in order to achieve results you've never achieved. So be thinking about that when you're creating your morning routine buffet, and make it something that's manageable, that can be done in 15, 20, 30 minutes. Again, I just ask myself to get on the walking treadmill and open up the computer. I'm not asking myself to do all this other stuff. I work out, after the restaurant job or in the middle of the afternoon in between clients. I get a lot of my meditation practice in. I'm at best up to like 2 or 3 days a week for like 10 minutes. But I do that towards the end of the evening, whenever my mind has been racing and I feel really exhausted, especially at that 3:30 to 5:30, 6 o'clock time period is when I sort of bonk out a little bit. I get a little bit groggy. And so rather than just immediately turning to coffee, that's when I will do my workout, come into the office, do some meditation afterwards. Maybe I'll even fall asleep in my office chair for 10, 15 minutes. I've definitely been known after I'm done doing my abs with my workout to just lay there on the floor and fall asleep for 15 or 20 minutes. I wake up, I stand up, I get back to my day. Little cat naps on the floor are much more advantageous than me trying to get into my bed. So I even have an afternoon routine, right? Around that 2, 3 o'clock range, I'm definitely hitting that workout. So that by the time it's done, between that 4 and 5:30 range, now I'm able to get a little bit of meditation in, hydrate. Usually dinner is around 6:30, done at 7:30, go for a walk with the girlfriend till about 8:15, come upstairs, watch a little television with her, get 1 hour a night. That's it. Now she's ready to go to bed, kiss goodnight, into the office. How much can I accomplish before 12 to 12:30? So I'm trying to ratchet everything down right around 12, 12:30. So by that 1 o'clock time, I'm able to really be into my final nighttime routine. That's then ultimately going to lead me to bed. So if I get my 7 hours, I can be up somewhere between that 8 and 9 a.m. range. 7 hours. I seek that consistently, although there are many days where it will only be 6, and sadly there are even those days where it's only 4 or 5. Looking at nighttime routines, what are you doing? I just rattled off mine, like very consistently. Even whenever we're just eating leftovers, I will aim to eat those around 6:30 to 7, so we can go for the walk before the sun sets, come upstairs, watch a little telly. She can go to bed. I can come back in the office. I work for 2 or 3 hours, drink a soda water, whatever I'm doing. I'm focused on that for a strong 3 hours. That is it. I'm locked in. Well, let's go back to about 2 to 3 hours. There's flexibility built in there. Once that's done, I shut the whole office down. I already have figured out what I'm going to do first thing the next day. I put that on my P4F list. I go downstairs, turn on the telly, flip it over to whatever streaming app I'm watching the show I'm watching on, and at most I'm allotted 1 hour. Sometimes I only end up giving myself 30 minutes, but I always know that it's capped at 1 hour. So if I don't get downstairs till 12:30, there's a very good chance I won't be turning in till 1:30. If it's going down there at 1:30, there's a very good chance I'm not turning in till 2:30, because I really do enjoy that 1 hour where I just get to watch a little telly, relax. I make myself my protein shake with half of a frozen banana, some strawberries, some blueberries, 2 to 3 scoops of protein powder. If it's a sugar night, then I'll get out my scale in the bowl. I weigh out myself an ounce of Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bugles, or, 1 cookie, or whatever my little sugary treat is for the night. And it's not every night, but I do like my little sugary snacks 3 to 4 nights a week. I always weigh them so I know exactly what I'm putting into my system that late at night. Got my little protein shake, got my little sugary snack if it's that kind of night. And now I stand there at the bar and I watch a little 1 hour show. Lately I've been watching Black Sails. I just got done with The 3 Body Problem. Watching Louder Milk on Netflix. That's hilarious. It's about the dude from Office Space being an addiction recovery group meeting leader. That's funny. There's Resident Alien. That's kooky. I enjoy that. Took me 4 nights to watch a movie called Damsel on Netflix because I kept stopping it to go to bed. So I'd give myself like 30, 40 minutes of it. And when it was a good sort of like a good break in the action, I'll turn it off in the middle of a fucking scene. I honestly don't care. It's a movie. It's not going anywhere. If I don't remember every little aspect of that movie, it's not going to ruin my life. I'm just watching it to just see character development and just give my brain something else to focus on besides the reading and the work and all that jazz. And so right in the middle of a movie, what movie did I watch? I think I watched the Dune in preparation. Oh, we watched one of the latest Planet of the Apes so we can go to the movie tonight and see Planet of the Apes 4. And it took me 5 nights to finish watching Planet of the Apes 3 because I kept turning it off. To go to bed, right? Be like, yeah, 20 minutes, I'm good. Eat my little protein shake. Maybe there's a sugary snack. Before I even think about sitting on the couch, which I won't often do, I'll often just sit at the bar in the kitchen facing the TV. I immediately brush my teeth, mouthwash, dental floss, the whole thing. That's part of my nighttime routine. As soon as I'm done eating, then I clean the mouth and the face before I even think about sitting on the couch, in case I sit on the couch and start to doze off. Because I do have this thing where if I sit down for prolonged periods of time late night, when I say prolonged periods of time, it can be 10 minutes. By that time, my body knows, well, we've done the protein shake, we've done the sugary snack. Now it's time to call it a night. And I don't want to fall asleep on the couch and then wake up and then have to brush my teeth and all that jazz. So all of that gets done before I even think about remotely sitting down, which again, I don't often sit on the couch. I just sit at the bar in one of those bar stool things, watch a little bit of television until I find myself just bored. Like my brain just wants to pick up the phone and start doing something else. I'm like, okie dokie, we've lost our interest in this. Now it's time to go to bed. It's 1 to 2 in the morning. Go in there, plug the charger in, set the alarms, open up YouTube, put on whatever guy I want to watch that night, pop in the earbud, put in my mouth guard, lay my head on the pillow, and within about 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to be sleepy town. And that's my routine. And all of that can be done no matter where I'm at. We just got back from Atlanta seeing the Stones, and I was able to do that same nighttime routine. You go home from the concert, we ate a little bit of food, I brushed my teeth, set up my phone, watched a little YouTube, rolled over, I was out. So the beautiful thing about my nighttime routine is that I'm able to pull that off no matter where I'm at. Because it's just really watching a little telly before I fall asleep after eating my protein shake and brushing my teeth. But it's the lead up to that. What did I do from 5, 6 p.m. till girlfriend going to bed at 9 to 10? What am I doing in that span? Because if you live by yourself, you might feel lonely. And you might feel like there's a part of you that now wants to go out, be social. That extrovert in you says, hey, don't want to drink alone, so let's go somewhere else so we can drink around people. That justifies the behavior. Perfect. Or maybe you can, get on the internet and have some crack shown up, and next thing you know, you're doing that for 30 hours when you know that internally you would have preferred to do something else. So what is the nighttime routine that you can begin to create? And again, we could very well be looking at a buffet situation here. Different nights after different kinds of days might call for different things. If it's a great day at work and you come home feeling rejuvenated, it might be a great time to grab out the shovel and go outside and, plant that plant you've been dying to put into your backyard for the last 3 months. If it's a shitty day and your boss got on your ass or some clients were really riding you hard and you're thinking, man, I just need to decompress in a different way. Maybe that's when you throw on some YouTube video of somebody working out and you pick up your dumbbells and you just start following along. Or just do your own workout while somebody on the YouTube's talking about the workout they're doing. I get these Beachbody videos, and I often don't even follow what this Joel guy is doing. I just want someone there encouraging me, getting me to change different exercises every 30 seconds to a minute. I don't necessarily need to be doing exactly what he's saying on the screen. I just don't want my body to stop moving for 40 minutes. And working out at home alone, just with music, can often allow me to pick up my phone or pause the music or just wander around thinking about my business. By having this video on, I follow his prompts. And whether I'm following his workout or not, I'm following his prompts. And that's what gets me through those workouts on days I don't want to do them. And so you want to be mindful of what is a day when you've had a quote-unquote bad day. What do you need then? Do you need to work out? Do you need to get some steps? Do you need to do some push-ups? Do you need to meditate? Do you need to go eat a bunch of broccoli and drink a glass of water? What if it's been a good day? Sometimes good days are just as much of a reason to get drunk as bad days. So what are you doing to celebrate? For me, I might still be doing the workout, right? I love the little victories. Going to the Rolling Stones show, having the time of our lives there. I'll tell you all about that during the birthday episode. It was a fantastic experience. We come home the next day and it's time to close out the NLP class, right? We just got done going through our last 10-week NLP workshop, and it was time to graduate our NLP students. And that was, 10 weeks of arduous awesomeness. But at the same time, here's back-to-back, 5-6 hour days teaching material and helping them coach one another so that they can get their certification. And if you've ever thought about learning neuro-linguistic programming, or you're just mildly intrigued by the fact that I keep bringing it up all the time, again, jessymogul.com/askme. Click on the little link for the NLP coaching, fill out the little form, we'll hop on the phone, I'll tell you more about it. I'm actually launching one specifically for NLP and recovery that can either be a one-day intensive where we go through things for about 6 to 8 hours, one day where I teach you all of the basic building blocks for how to really seize the day in your sobriety and recovery. And I'm also doing the same material just spread out over 4 weeks, 2 hours a night on either Wednesday or Thursday when you all get off work. So there's opportunities if you'd like to learn NLP, but don't necessarily want the 60-hour training. I've actually figured out a way to teach you the basic building blocks of what will benefit you right out the gate in about 6 to 8 hours. And so the beautiful thing is that we can be flexible in how we take in this information and not feel like we're beholden to learning the entire 108-page manual. Going back to what I was stating before is that Saturday and Sunday were really important to close out this class right. On top of that, there's other responsibilities. Figuring out this ditch overflow issue in the back and why there's a crack in our concrete slab in our backyard. So there was all these little things that I wanted to get done. And yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of the Rolling Stones show. But what I did Friday night shouldn't necessarily dictate what I'm doing Saturday morning, afternoon, and night, or Sunday after morning, noon, and night. Celebrate your victories. At the same time, don't allow them to throw you off the long-term goals you have. It's like a sport team winning a game on Sunday and being like, well, cool, we won Sunday, so we don't really need to practice this week. You know what, we'll watch game film on Saturday for like 2 hours. We'll go out next week, and of course we'll win because we won today. We know that strategy doesn't work for teams. You have to build a routine. Every single team has the same routine that they follow every single week. That by the time game day shows up, they're ready to rock and roll. You want to be ready to rock and roll for your version of game day. So celebrate the victories when you have them. Figure out what that means to you. It could be a tasty treat. It could be doing 100 push-ups. It could be meditating. It could be calling up your biggest supporter and telling them of your accomplishment, and you both jumping up and down, listening to your favorite song. Whatever it might be, find that for yourself and lock it in as your celebratory opportunity. That becomes your habit loop for celebration, just as much as you're going to want a habit loop for the defeats, for the feedback opportunities, for those perceived failures. Shit's not going to always go well. there's times in life where things go sideways and you don't get the outcome you want. How are you emotionally resilient in those opportunities? What's your habit loop for that? Do you have a routine for when you think you failed and how you're going to be able to get yourself back on your feet, focus towards achieving the goal the next time, or just getting yourself back into a state of flow by doing something that you know you're going to enjoy? It could be juggling tennis balls. It could be playing the ukulele, pulling out the xylophone. I mean, these are just things I use. But there's going to be things that you're going to want to do. What was a hobby? What was something you really enjoyed doing when you were younger that addiction was more than happy to take away from you? You were more than happy to give away to addiction. Bring that back and allow that to be what your habit loop routine is for when you perceived to have failed or when you succeed. And it's of the utmost importance that we don't just pay attention to what we're doing in the morning, because while I agree, it can set the tone for the day. It can boost your mood and energy. It can increase your productivity and focus. That nighttime routine is also an opportunity to set the tone for your day, to boost your mood and energy, to increase your productivity and focus. Just because the sun goes down doesn't mean the day is done. And we know this because how many times did the sun go down, and that's when we hopped in the shower after a couple beers, cleaned ourselves up, and then started the night. Shit, I remember times in my life where the night didn't even start till 11 o'clock. Now at 11 o'clock, I'm sitting in my office knocking out schoolwork while there's other people putting on their shoes and going to the club. Let that be their life. It's not yours. What are you chasing out there? What are you afraid of missing out on? Because all those times I was in the club at 20 years old, there's a few of them that stand out, but mostly because they end atrociously. The good times, all the laughter and the fun, yeah, there's some that stand out. Like I went to one that had like a 4-story thing, and there was people in half naked in cages, and there was all these fire things shooting pyrotechnics everywhere, and there was this gigantic suds machine that was firing soapy suds off the ceiling, and it was all coming like 4 stories down. All right, that place was a fucking shit show. And I did enjoy that, and that definitely comes to mind. But a lot of those times spent at Cordy Heroes or TGI Fridays or Ale House getting smashed, I don't remember none of those. My fear of missing out on a nighttime of fun that I don't recollect now absolutely caused me to miss out on the college experience or miss out on actual beneficial relationships. All those friends I thought would be around for life, I barely see them on Facebook, let alone in person anymore. So you want to be listening to yourself when it comes to beneficial things to add into your nighttime routine, to add into your life. Yes, we can wind down and we can figure out ways to relax, but if you want something great in your life, and instead of getting up and doing something about that from 8 o'clock to 11, you're sitting in front of the television watching other people live out dramedies and comedies and, scripts of other people's lives, the hell are you doing? That's why I don't watch reality TV. I don't need to watch fake TV about real people doing made-up shit. I don't care what the Kardashians are up to at all. Not even a little bit. And whatever you may have watched about them 6 years ago, the likelihood you remember all that much of it now isn't there. But what if you took on a new certification or a new hobby? How could that benefit you if every single night, instead of watching 3 hours of TV, you put 3 hours towards the ukulele? I bet you'd be in a ukulele band by now. We're looking for a nighttime routine that can lock in all of that positivity that we had been feeding ourselves throughout the entire day being in our sobriety and recovery journey. I got one client, he drives a truck all day long. Sometimes he's going to drive at night, but a lot of the times it's time to shut it down at night. Well, what's he doing at that point? Is he watching a movie that brings him joy? Is he journaling? Is he meditating? Because you can't really get out and go for 10,000 steps at a truck stop sometimes. It may not be the most safest place as you're trying to dodge other 18-wheelers. But there's opportunities in his life to start creating different habit loops that create that nighttime routine where you can say, this is exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm very glad I did this. Opportunities to reflect on his day. Maybe he goes to bed a little earlier. Maybe he stays up a little bit later reading that book that he really wants to enjoy. There's complementary benefits to having a very strong morning routine and a nighttime routine. For me, I don't put as much, again, on my morning routine as I do on my nighttime routine because when I first got sober, I knew the nighttime when I was at my most precarious. I knew that's when my trepidation needed to be at its highest about what it is I'm going to do. Right? If you're trepidatious, that means that there's a little bit of uncertainty there. Maybe we're a little bit worried, concerned, maybe even going all the way up to scared or afraid about what we're going to do. And again, using the word trepidatious, you taking on a new hobby, there might be some of that small little concern that, will this be the best one? And that apprehensiveness or that nervousness that you feel can often just be your brain trying to create a whole new habit structure. New synapses gets born. There's a forest. There's no road. You start doing this new thing. Now you've leveled the trees. You start walking that path. Before you know, you've worn it down a little bit. After you've done it for a few weeks, now we can bring in the gravel truck. Now we've got a gravel road. Now you've been doing it for a few more weeks. We're going to asphalt that. Now we've got a single lane road through this forest. And the more and more and more and more that you do this habit, we start adding lanes. And, 17 years later, we've got a 4,000 lane super highway. That was your addiction. It wasn't like you jumped bore in. It took some gearing up for it. And when we go to create a new life, we need to understand it's going to be a similar process, except, of course, meth and cocaine and heroin and ketamine and all these other drugs that we can take. I'll never forget the first time I took ecstasy. Like, that was a life-changing experience. Well, just deciding to meditate for 15 minutes is probably not going to bring your mind and body the same kind of excitement it felt the first time it dropped a bean. But what's important to realize is that stuff over there, of course, it's meant to drain your brain and create this unrealistic expectations of life. Over here in sobriety land, we're looking to create a life that is grounded in our own version of reality. That is something that can be replicated. Ecstasy very quickly started needing to be taken more often with more of them in order to create that first week or two of being on it. Same with any other drug. At some point, what was once a tiny little bit becomes a pile of it because it's just not the same. The body has begun to build up a tolerance to it. And this is where we want to be mindful of breaking the tolerances that our body and mind had created towards alcohol and drugs, breaking down those habit loops and creating morning and nighttime routines that benefit us on a mission of sobriety and recovery. If you think that the world out there is just a bunch of shit you're missing out on because you're not out there stomping the grounds at midnight, like they used to say on How I Met Your Mother, nothing good happens outside of midnight. If you're in front of an ATM at 2 a.m, shit's going sideways in your life right now. So we want to just create a life that we don't want to run from. And when you have a strong nighttime routine where maybe it's juggle for 10 minutes and then it's play ukulele for 30 minutes and then it's watch a couple YouTube videos on how to play the xylophone and then pick that up and then pick up a book that you've always wanted to read and just promise yourself that you'll do 5 pages. A 200-page book at 5 pages at a time would take you 40 days, right? Because 10 days would be 50 pages. Yep, 40 days would be 200 pages. 5 pages a night. I've read through 600-page NLP books, committing myself to 5, 7, 10 pages a day. So it's small enough that I can take notes, I can enjoy it. And 2 months later, I had just crushed through a 600-page NLP book. But I had to break it down into bite-sized chunks, and that became part of that 2-month stretch's nighttime routine. It's your nighttime voice that is most often going to be the one that's screaming at you to go out and do something that you're going to regret the next morning. One of my favorite sayings, and I'll get you out of here on this, back when I was an addict, was that nighttime Jesse loves writing checks that morning-side Jesse has to cash. And it was literally came from a saying, it's like, yeah, your ass just wrote a check. Like, you just wrote a check your ass now has to cash. It's like that with your nighttime self. Morning self is generally ready to rock and roll. It's nighttime self that's sitting here justifying the behavior you've already told me you're sick and tired of. So figure out what it is that's missing in your nighttime routine. Find something that excites you. All right. If other people are telling you to read a book and that's just not doing it for you, then maybe you want to be working out at 9 o'clock. And all those blogs saying that if you work out at 9 o'clock means you won't fall asleep for 6 more hours past that. Is that true? Or is that just something that they noticed in themselves or some of their clients, but it's not true to you? Work out at 9 o'clock. Go for a run at 9 o'clock. Again, I don't know what will be the right thing for you, but if you consistently find yourself going back out, reliving a past that you know for a fact isn't benefiting you, then there's something about your nighttime routine that's not working. pull out that buffet book, start writing things down that you could try, and just give them 5 or 10 minutes. And do that for 2 weeks and see how it feels. Just like I want your morning routine to be a buffet, I want your nighttime buffet for your nighttime routine to be just as important to you. It's that voice that's the one that's trying to get you to go out. The morning one, again, this isn't an absolute. I have no doubt there's that morning voice that wakes up like, fuck, I hate my life. I should just get drunk right now. But you go to work and you do the things you got to do, probably because that morning voice is like, all right, we're going to go to work. But nighttime, Jesse, you're going to have all the fun, brother. Just get me to 5:30. I promise you can get smashed. Okay, well, at least morning side of us got us into the responsible part of our life. Then when nighttime part of us gets to take the wheel, what are they going to aim us towards? Because if it's to our local watering hole or our dealer's house, then shit's going sideways, and you're going to be living with that lifestyle for a lot longer than you would pretend than you would prefer to. Think about your nighttime routine. What voice is in charge? What's on your buffet? And be open to experimentation. Life is about living it present in the moment. And if that voice is in your head telling you should be going out again when you know you should be staying home, then get present in your life in that moment. 5 minutes of meditation, come out of that and say, what do I want to do right now that'll benefit me physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? I want to, tired of my fucking job, so let's jump on Indeed and look for a better one. Let's make a resume. Let's get a certification. Let's get ahead on schoolwork so that I can feel accomplished in that regard. Like there's going to be something that you can figure out to do. And if you're sitting here saying, Jesse, I've got kids, and as soon as I get out of work, I got to go to their baseball practice, I got to go to their volleyball practice, I got to sit there for 3 hours, then I got to come home and I got to try to find something to eat, and then I got to go up to bed and I got to redo the whole thing. Remember, if you want to achieve something amazing in your life, it's not just going to be sacrificing your own time and your own attention. There's going to be opportunity costs that you might not be able to be at every single baseball game, every football game, every ballerina recital. Talk to the kids and let them know, hey, I'm not going to be able to be at this one because there's another obligation I have, but I can't wait till the next time I can make it to your game. And then, tell them what day that'll be. I've watched some parents be like, yeah, I got to go sit there for volleyball practice for 3 hours. No, you don't. Your kid's fucking practicing volleyball. They don't need your distraction. They don't need you hovering. The 80s and 90s kids, we didn't have the hovering parents. Stop hovering. Drop them off, say, good luck with your volleyball, bump, set, spike. I'll be back in 3 hours. What are you going to do, Mom? Why aren't you coming in? Because I'm going to go home and work on the computer, and I'm going to create another source of income. Or I'm going to take this really cool certification because I've always wanted to do this. They might be bummed then, but I promise you, as your kids get older, and they're like, you know what I really admired about you is that even though there was other things going on, and yeah, I would have preferred you were at my volleyball practice, that you went out and you created that awesome thing for yourself. And now the lifestyle we have is a absolute benefit from the work you put in. And it shows your kids that you're willing to sacrifice here and there in order to achieve greater things. That's the thing that's really interesting. When we first get sober, we'll sacrifice tons of hours to go into a meeting, to going and doing our step work, to doing our truths, to meeting with our sponsors or our mentors or our addiction recovery coach. But then down the line, whenever it means sacrificing, going and doing this, that, or the other in the sake of bettering our career, bettering our self-care, bettering our mental health, bettering our physical body, we'll allow other people's desires to have us around in their life to be the obligation we go toward instead of influencing ourselves to achieve the thing we want to achieve. Sure, people will be like, got to go to your meetings. I don't want you to relapse. But then you get sober for a long time and they're like, yeah, do you really need to be at that meeting or can't you come to my thing? It's like, I need to go do my thing. And I will make time for some of your things. But my things are also important because if you're living your life through somebody else's behaviors, then you're just at the whims of whatever they decide they're into that day. And while we want to be supportive of our friends and our families and definitely our children, they don't need us hovering over every little thing that they do. We live in a society that seems to just want to helicopter our kids all the time. Go, drop them off. Allow the coach to do their thing. It might actually benefit for mommy, and daddy to not always be watching them. Allow them to do some of that work. And when you go to the game, you can be like, holy shit, you've gotten so much better than last week. I'm so proud of you. Well, you know that if you're at my practice. Yeah, I wasn't at your practice. I was off doing things that were beneficial for me that will pay off. And I get a 6-year-old or a 9-year-old may not understand that. But at some point, they'll look back and say, I saw how hard you work and I saw how much you sacrifice for us. And it may not happen until they're 20 or 30. And it might take 6 years of therapy to get them to that point, but they're probably going to need 6 years of therapy anyways. Might as well at the end result be, wow, my parents really busted their ass for me, rather than, what the fuck did my parents do? Why wouldn't they leave me alone and let me figure out things on my own? All right, I've rattled on enough. I'm pretty sure at 44 I said I was going to get you out of here on this. Just realize all of this stuff I've said, none of it is a determinant of your success or failures. It's opportunities to just take in new information and figure it out for yourselves. Whether you're new to sobriety or you're a long-term person, you might be a green pea or an old vet, there's always going to be an opportunity, and yes, I use the word always, an opportunity to better yourselves in another area of your life. You've got to figure out what that looks like to you. Sit down, write it out, come up with a plan. Go back to episode 286 where I talked about habit loop, breaking things down, reconstructing it, and starting to make it into a new way of living. Your morning routine is absolutely important, but if you're ignoring your nighttime routine, that might be why the voice gets so loud. It might be why you keep stepping off of your path, because you need to figure out something that you can do then. And don't let the time of the night dictate how much energy you're willing to put forth. If you're like, man, I wish it was middle of the afternoon, I'd work out, then just go work out. If there's not a 24-hour gym in your area, then get yourself some bands. They're like $20 on Amazon. Hook them up to one of your door frames and just sit there and do band exercises for 45 minutes. Don't let somebody else's interpretation of what you should do at a certain time of day based on circadian rhythms and their own experimentation with hydration and nutrition and sleep and all that shit to tell you what you're capable of. Because if everybody's way was the right way, we would just follow one person's way and our lives would be freaking spectacular. But it's not the way it works. Because we're humans. There's a myriad of variables. There's infinite choices every single day. Which one are you going to make that brings it to a point where you start waking up consistently sober? Find that one, my friends, and you found your own holy grail. As always, if you want to know more about what it is I can offer, what it is I've done and created over here in the From Sobriety to Recovery universe, jessymogul.com. Ask me. Fill out one of the Google forms that pops up when you click on the coaching or the NLP link. We'll hop on a call. No obligation. Let's just get to know each other. It's an awesome 30 minutes for me to see life through your eyes and to learn more about your lived experiences. I love to meet more listeners because it allows me to know more about how I've benefited you and where I could continue to bring you value, because I understand that your time is valuable and I want to make sure that I keep bringing you information that challenges your way of thinking and feeling so that you can have even more empowering results and outcomes for yourself. As always, my friends, inclusivity over exclusivity, the power of positive energy release and flow. Every day is the best day of our lives when we wake up sober. Shout out to Sunshine and Robert. Glow on. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.